Nick Saban is still the king of recruiting. The Crimson Tide finished the early signing period with the #1 class in America. And to be honest with you, it wasn't even close. Georgia finished a distant second this cycle, with Texas coming in third after the early signing period. Nick Saban and the Tide signed 7 5-star recruits. For context, Georgia signed 1, and nobody else in the country signed more than 3 this year. Just when they said Nick fell off, Alabama silenced the doubters with arguably the best class of the Saban era in Tuscaloosa. We're going to break this class down position by position. At quarterback, Alabama signed 2. Eli Holston from Zachary, Louisiana, and Dylan Lonergan from Snellville, Georgia. Holstein is a 6'3.5", 230-pound gunslinger, ranked as the number 8 quarterback and the 69th best player overall. Lonergan goes 6'1", 220, and is ranked the number 11 QB in the country and the 146th best player overall. Both of these quarterbacks fit the Alabama profile that Nick Saban likes to recruit. Both guys come from successful high school programs. Both are high character guys that are coming in to compete. Nothing was promised to either of them in terms of playing time, and that's just how Alabama likes to do it. Alabama hasn't signed 2 QBs in one class since 2017, when they signed Tua and Mac Jones. I think it was important for Alabama to sign 2 QBs in this class. With Bryce Young going pro and the transfer portal being what it is, Alabama needed to restock their QB cupboard this recruiting cycle. Moving on to running backs, Alabama made a statement this cycle at the position, landing 2 of the top 4 backs in the country. Alabama snagged UGA legacy 5-star back Justice Haynes. I'll say, it was a bit of a surprise when he committed to the Tide over the Dogs over the summer, but throughout the fall, he never wavered despite constant attempts by Georgia to flip him. Then Alabama dipped into the state of Florida to grab the number 4 ranked back in the country, Richard Young, out of Fort Myers. Both backs are fast, both are bruising, and both can hit a home run from anywhere on the field. Alabama signed the best running back duo in the country this year. Guys, do me a favor and subscribe to this page. If you love recruiting, subscribe. You love college football content, subscribe. If you're already watching this video and you haven't yet, go hit the subscribe button. All right, we're moving on to receivers and tight ends. Alabama signed 4 wide receivers this year, including the nation's top overall JUCO prospect, Malik Benson. Benson's a 6-foot, 185-pound speedster from Hutchinson Community College in Kansas. Benson's athleticism and explosiveness remind me a lot of Alabama pass catcher Henry Ruggs. Benson was brought in to make an immediate impact in the 2023 season. The Tide also signed 4-star Jalen Hale out of Texas, 4-star Jaron Hamilton out of Florida, and 4-star Cole Adams out of Oklahoma. At tight end, Alabama flipped 4-star Ty Lockwood from the Ohio State Buckeyes. They didn't need a huge tight end class this year, so they went out and got Lockwood, who's a 6'5", 225-pound bruising tight end out of Tennessee. Lockwood considers himself a student of the game. He excels at route running and pass catching. Bama also added a tight end from the transfer portal. They got C.J. Diprey from Maryland. He's expected to contribute right away as well, and they might not be done yet. I'll address that later on in this video. Bama's offensive line class went from good to great the night before the early signing period. That's when Alabama flipped 5-star offensive tackle Caden Proctor from his longtime commitment to Iowa. You see, Alabama lost out to Iowa early on in the summer, but they never gave up. Saban was able to get Proctor back on campus the weekend before the early signing period, and that final impression was enough to get the flip in action. The night before signing day, Proctor announced his decision to commit to the Tide and sign with them the following day. The size in this offensive line class is impressive. You see, Proctor goes 6'7", 340. Ryquez McElderry, 6'3", 330. Wilkin Formby, 6'8", 310. Miles McVay, 6'7", 348. Olas Alanen, 6'6", 325. Formby, McElderry, and McVay have already participated in bowl practice with the Tide and are on campus, while Alanen and Proctor will join the team early in January. Now let's swing on over to the defensive side of the ball. Alabama's stellar class on offense was mirrored by their stellar class on defense. Let's break it down starting on the defensive line. Nick Saban said at his signing day presser that the focus on this class was to improve the defensive front. And oh boy, did they improve it. Alabama went out and signed one of the top defensive classes in the 2023 cycle. Let's break it down on the interior first and then on the edge. On the inside at defensive line, you got 5-star James Smith, 4-star Hunter Osborne, 4-star Edric Hill, 4-star Jordan Renaud, and on the edge, 5-star Keon Keeley and 4-star Yanze Pierre. Hunter Osborne was the first trench monster to commit to this class. At 6'3", 250, Osborne plays on the edge in high school, but he has the frame to get bigger and play on the interior down the road. I really like Osborne's ability to take on and shed blocks. He also has a quick first step, and I think he has a high upside in Alabama's defensive scheme. The last defensive lineman to commit to Alabama's class came on signing day. But good things come to those who wait, and James Smith is worth the wait. James Smith's signing completely changed the perception of how Alabama's D-line group is viewed. Had he not signed with the Tide, this group might look like a disappointment. But with Smith in the class, this is arguably the most dominant D-line in the country. On the outside at the edge position, Alabama signed 2 of the top 6 edge prospects in the 2023 class. Starting with Keon Keeley. He was a longtime target of the Tide. However, he committed to Notre Dame last spring only to reopen his recruitment in August. And once he was back on the market, it was an Ohio State-Alabama battle until the end. On December 12th, Keon Keeley announced his decision, picking the Tide over the Buckeyes. Keeley was an important battle that Alabama won at a position of need that helped shape this class. 4-star edge Yanze Pierre was an in-state prospect that Alabama was able to beat out Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and others for. Pierre finished the season with an impressive 64 tackles and 8.5 sacks. Shifting over to linebacker, Alabama did miss on 2 key targets down the stretch. They were unable to flip Santarine Perkins from Ole Miss, and Arian Carter signed with Tennessee. But this segment is not about what they missed on, it's about what they signed. And what they brought in was elite. Bama once again goes the JUCO route for immediate help at the position, signing the #1 player at the position, Justin Jefferson. Jefferson chose Bama over LSU, UF, and Texas A&M. He's 6 foot, 210, and boy, can he hit and run. Jefferson is paired with high school 5-star Quay Rusal. Alabama's linebacker class is very solid with these two. Rusal, as I said, is a 5-star prospect, the #2 linebacker in America and the 19th best player overall. This really came down to an in-state battle between the two rivals, Auburn and Alabama. At 6'2", 235, Rusal's versatile. He's capable of suiting up in the traditional inside linebacker position or also rushing the passer from the edge. Let's move over to defensive backs. Starting with the corners, this group ended with a bang, not on signing day, but one day later when Alabama landed their 7th 5-star in the class, Desmond Ricks. The IMG 5-star chose to announce his commitment to Alabama. I don't know why, but he waited one day after signing day. The Tide beat out LSU and Florida for the 6'2 corner, who ranks as the 2nd best cornerback in the country according to On3 consensus rankings. Alabama also signed in-state prospect Jaleel Hurley from Florence, Alabama. He's the longest tenured commitment in this class. Hurley has excellent length at 6'2 and 185 pounds. Moving on to safety, and it all starts and stops with Caleb Downs. The #1 ranked safety in America and the 6th best player overall. At 6 foot, 195 pounds, Downs is from Mill Creek High School in Georgia. And there's an argument to be made that he's the #1 overall high school football player in America. When it comes down to playing the game of football, the actual game, there's nobody better in the country. Maybe as good, but I don't think you're going to find anyone better than Caleb Downs. Alabama was able to pull Downs against competition from Ohio State and Georgia. It's actually pretty unbelievable if you think about it, that this was the first Georgia national championship in 40 years, yet the Tide are able to go into the state and beat the Dogs for the top player in Georgia. Alabama also signed top 6 safety in the country Tony Mitchell and 4-star Bray Hubbard, but Caleb Downs was the crown jewel of not only this position group, but this class in general. Alabama rounds out the class by signing kicker Connor Talty. And what if I told you that even though the early signing day is past, Alabama might not be done yet? The number 1 tight end in the nation, Deuce Robinson, visited Tuscaloosa on an official visit in October, and he's not expected to sign until the February 1st signing day. Alabama, UGA, USC, and Texas are all in contention to land Deuce Robinson when he makes that decision February 1. And lastly, there's Cormani McClain. He's the number 1 cornerback in America. He committed to Miami, but failed to sign with the Hurricanes during the early signing period. He takes his recruitment into the month of January, and the teams to watch in this one are Alabama, obviously Miami, and also Colorado. If the 2023 signing day officially ended today, Alabama would be far and away the top class in America. But let's see if they can add to their haul of 7 5-stars by pulling one or both of Deuce Robinson and Cormani McClain. That's the rundown of Alabama's 2023 class. Why don't you do me a favor? In the comments section of this video, tell me who your favorite recruit is in this class. Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.